Thank you everyone so much for coming here today. Just a couple of minutes before the event started, I got a text from the head of the Assembly Democrats, and he said, well, at least you'll know who your diehard supporters are. So thank you all for digging out your cars and showing up on a day like today. I really appreciate it. Now, I want to start, before I talk about our campaign, my name's on the sign and everywhere else, but it's not just me. There are a lot of people who have been working very, very hard to make this campaign a reality. And first is Erin, our campaign manager. Can we give it up for Erin, please? Erin glossed over the part where she said, yeah, and then I asked Deb to run, and she said yes. It was more of a persistent, you need to run, you need to run, you need to run. And no one says no to Erin for very long. So thank you, Erin, for being here. There's also a group of people who, in politics, they're known as your kitchen cabinet, which is pretty accurate because we actually do meet in our kitchen. That's Deb Andraca and Kelly Buchholz, Rachel Dickman, Darren Lyle, and Sandy Saltstein. All of you, raise your hands. Give them a round of applause, please. All of them have amazing skills and talents in their professional world that they are bringing for free to our campaign, and that's just been amazing. And you know they're good friends when they're willing to show up at your house at 10 a.m. on a Sunday morning for a 2-hour cabinet meeting. So snow and cabinet meetings, everything else, thank you guys, I really appreciate it. And the last people I need to thank, of course, are Mia and Andy, where are you? And Mark, my family. Yeah. You can't hide behind the wall, Andy. There have been a lot of changes in the Andraca household lately. Dinners aren't really made on time, if at all. The house is a little messier because I've been out campaigning and doing what I need to do to be here today. And if they hadn't stepped up, and all of them are stepping up in their own way to make this happen. And if you want to know how much Mark loves me and supports me, he is making dinners now. And if you know how much Mark likes to cook, you'll know just how significant that is. So thank you guys. Thank you so much. So a lot of people have been asking me, why are you doing this? Why would you want to take this on? Including some people in my own family. Why would you want to go to Madison, where everybody is just fighting all the time? People don't get along. It's just constant bickering. And so generally I say I have 2 important qualifications for going to Madison. First is I teach kindergarten. Have you ever tried to hand a kindergartner a blue crayon when they really wanted a red crayon? Those are some very difficult people. And second of all, I live with 2 teenagers. So if I can spend my days with kindergartners and my nights with teenagers, I think I'm pretty well prepared for just about anything that Madison might throw at me. So. There has been an awful lot of fighting, as Erin was talking about. Everywhere you go, people are fighting. You can't get away from it. And it can be enough that you want to just put a rant out on Facebook, or send out a tweet, or maybe just watch puppies or something on YouTube. But if we're serious about wanting something to change, we all have to ask ourselves a really, really important question. What can I do to make a difference? And when I was younger, the answer was a little bit more straightforward. I could work for causes that I believe in with whatever time I had to spare. So I was a press secretary on a congressional race because I wanted to see more women elected to office. I got a master's degree in political management, and I became an environmental lobbyist. When my kids were born, I volunteered at the school as much as I could, junior great books and reading buddies, and I became PTO president. And I just always did as much as I could. And it was through this work that I discovered just how much I loved being in the classroom. And right about that time, Act 10 was passed. And teachers started leaving the profession in droves. And there was a real shortage of qualified teachers, even at a school like Whitefish Bay. And so I asked myself, what can I do to make a difference? And so I decided that I could become a teacher. And so I started taking classes at Alverno, 1 or 2 at a time while the kids were little. And then 2 years ago, I finally got my license, and I started teaching. And it was through my teaching work right over at Richards that I experienced my first lockdown drill. Now, our kids go through these all the time, but this was really the first one that I had experienced myself. And what happens is they make an announcement over the PA, and teachers are expected to take their kids away from doors and windows. Sometimes you hide in a closet if you have a big enough one. In this instance, my classroom had a big smartboard, and that was a place away from the windows. And so I gathered this entire classroom of third graders underneath the smartboard, where they just sat there completely silent. And then a resource officer from the school starts walking up and down the hallways, rattling all the doorknobs just to make sure the classrooms were secure. And mine wasn't, because I was a substitute, and they had given me the wrong key that day. And so this resource officer bursts in the door, starts yelling at me in front of my kids, and they were so unbelievably scared. And I looked at them, and I looked at the man, and I was scared too. But then I got angry, because I didn't grow up this way. I didn't have to do lockdown drills. Most of the grown-ups in this room didn't have to do that either. And none of us should have to go through this. We don't have to live this way. And so that was when I asked myself, what can I do to make a difference? And so I decided that I could volunteer for Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense to fight for better gun laws. And so through my volunteer work, I brought volunteers to Madison. I organized their advocacy day. I taught volunteers how to talk to their legislators, to speak up and demand that we get better gun laws in Wisconsin. And it was through this work that I found myself, not that long ago, although it does seem like a long time ago now, sitting across the table from Jim Ott and Alberta Darling. Debbie was there too. And we were asking them to support red flag laws and background checks on all gun sales. And I asked Jim Ott, would you support background checks? And Jim Ott said no. He said no despite the fact that 80% of his constituents, a lot of us in this room, know that background checks save lives. But he's not listening to his constituents. And so I asked myself, what can I do to make a difference? And I decided that if I couldn't change Jim Ott's mind, I could change his job. I could run against him for a safer, smarter, healthier Wisconsin. That's the theme of our campaign. Safer being better gun laws, smarter being support for our schools and teachers, and healthier, both a cleaner environment and better access to health care. So I believe that climate change is real, and it's a threat to our health and our environment. Jim Ott is a weatherman who doesn't believe in climate change. And he is one of the Assembly's most vocal climate change deniers. Now, I believe that our health care is too expensive, and it doesn't cover enough. I don't think any of us should have to worry whether or not it's worth it to bring our kids to the doctor if we haven't met our high deductible, and that doctor visit's going to cost more than $200. All of us should just have to worry about our sick kid. And I'm a teacher, so I believe we need to support our public schools and our teachers. Our school funding right now, teachers are being asked to do more than ever before, but we're getting funding that barely covers the basics. We need to consistently fund our public schools so that our kids can get the same kind of education, public education, that most of us got. And so now I've reached the part where I ask if you like what we're saying and your messages and our message is resonating with you, what can you do to help our campaign? It's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a long one. I'm going to be canvassing mostly when it's hot and it's a blizzard right now, which tells me just how far we have to go. But we're determined to make it work. First, you can help spread the word on social media. Send our emails to friends. Let people know that you have a choice in representation. And right now, what we have is really, it's not what our district deserves right now. And second, you can get involved. As I said, knocking doors will be much warmer than it is today, but come knock on some doors, get a yard sign, make some phone calls, anything you can, because it's going to take everybody in this room in order to finally tip the 23rd district. And then finally, you can also donate. This assembly race, I did not know this before I agreed to run, is the #1 most targeted assembly race in the entire state. And it will probably be one of the most expensive assembly races in history, in Wisconsin history, because both sides see this is good news, bad news, both sides see this as a winnable race. And where's Carmen? You told me just a few minutes ago that a friend of yours saw Jim out at the gym, and he actually said he was really worried about this race because he knows it's going to be a tough re-election this year. So that made me so happy. If it's January and he's already hearing from us and he's already worried, that's a very, very, very good sign. So thank all of you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for digging out your cars and your sidewalks and being here on a crazy, crazy snowy night. When your kids get older, Mia and Andy are in high school, and when they get close to graduation, you start to take a sharper look at the environment and the world that they're about to head off into. But I see a lot of kids here tonight, and so I know that things are going to get better. And I do have a lot of hope because, and my kids hate it when I mention them in my speeches, but Mia's going to turn 18 just a few weeks before Election Day, so her first vote gets to be for her mom. At least I hope it's for her mom. She likes to remind me that I have to earn her vote, just like I hope to earn your vote by November 3rd. So thank you all for coming here. I really appreciate you coming out today. And thank you for joining us and fighting for a safer, smarter, healthier Wisconsin. So thank you all.